Hey guys, I'm Dave and welcome to the Trull Gallery. Today, I'm going to show you one of the tricks that makes this my favorite router for a router table. When it was time to buy a new router for my router table, I knew there were a few features that I wanted. I wanted it to be about 3¼ horsepower. I wanted it to accept both 1/4 and 1/2 inch collets, and I wanted it to be easy to work with while it was in the table. You've noticed I took off the original base plate and I now have this plate on there, and this is actually the plate that goes in my router table. And while I could use this as a handheld router with this plate on it, I choose not to, not because the plate's in the way, just because this thing is a beast, which is a good thing. It's also a plunge router. And for years, while I sold power tools, I told people if you can avoid it, don't put a plunge router in a router table. If you're wondering why, it's because plunge routers always have a spring in there. And the spring is always wanting to pop that router back up. Great if you're using it as a plunge router, but once it's upside down, every time you're trying to make an adjustment, that spring is trying to push away from the table. It becomes an annoyance. Let me show you how to change this from a plunge router to kind of like a fancy fixed base router. The first thing we want to do is bring that router as high as we can, take off as much of the tension on the spring. Now we can loosen the screw that holds this cap in place. We don't have to remove it, just loosen it 3 or 4 turns. Now remember, there's a lot of pressure on this spring, so simply twist it and release the spring, and now we can put that cap back in place. Again, tighten down that screw, and now we're no longer going to fight that spring when we make our adjustments. One of the other things I like about this router is the way it's configured for the router table. Now I've got mine attached to a Rockler Pro plate and drilled an extra hole, and that hole lets me put in the height adjustment handle, which connects to the router below. And I can now make my adjustments up or down, and the adjustments are nice and smooth because I'm not fighting that spring. And I can also make very minor adjustments, and I can do that by seeing how far these lines on the adjusting arm go. Looking at it from below, I can set in the height adjustment handle here, make my adjustments to the router up and down. Everything moves easily because I'm not fighting that spring. And then once I get the height set to where I want it, I lock it in place, and that's not going to move. This is just a quick video to show you how to adapt this Triton router from a plunge router to a useful table router, simply by removing the spring and using the included handle. Without adding any other router lifts or any other mechanisms, you've got a great and precise way to work with this router in a router table. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this video. Do you have a router table? What kind of router do you use in it? And if you're not using a router table, are you thinking about it? Drop in the comments below. I'd love to hear. If you enjoyed this video, maybe give us a thumbs up and share it with friends. And if you haven't already, maybe it's time to hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you get notified each time I put out a new video. As usual, I don't have a clue what's coming up next. And yes, I'm still very limited to what I can do here in the shop. But I think I'll come up with something that'll be interesting. So until then, have a great day, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.